1, 2. It's good because it will be the future. 3. Yes. More. Good. And this is your audience. That's why I was saying all that. Yeah. So where do we meet all them? Yeah. And do I know what is in that? What are the habits of the rituals of these people? Good. Another tool. Very simple, but the most stupid abbreviation work. USP, UBP, UAP. That brings it down to the unique selling point. This is a very old marketing term. What can only you offer? Why should people work with you? For the writers, it might be kind of style, a particular way of creating characters, whatever that might be. Your UBP is think always what is in it for the others, and particular with those 3 who are working on cross and transmedia worlds, there the user is much more in the focus of the interest, because, for example, game users are buying it because the levels have changed or the surface has changed. Yeah, this is the way of how you market the projects, but it of course is always involved in the content as well as in creating the form. So the unique buying point and your unique artistic perspective are of course part of the USP, but please try to take them out and separately pitch them. For who is working on documentaries? Okay, keyword here would be UAP in terms of what is your visual concept. Yeah, how are you approaching that subject? How are you following? How are you building the documentary? Do you use a lot of archive, or is it a fly on the wall? Are you, what is in terms of hybrid formats, what is becoming more and more interesting and famous, but also expensive, is using animation for animation parts in documentaries for particular purposes. Yeah, so documentaries are living really from the visual and artistic concept, as well, of course, as visual arts films and the animation. So also for animation people, it's absolutely crucial to also always work when you pitch with visuals to share and show your vision in that sense, not content related, but really by the visual sense. We are coming just to the what is the project about, and in regards to what I said in the beginning, you are your own project. Yeah, a pitch is consisting of your vision of the market, your understanding, your placement in the market, about your motivation, your intention, and all this has an influence on all the other parts which are part of a project. Yeah, so the marketing, the impact of the creativity, the story itself, the decision, money and legal. Do you crowdsource? Do you crowdfund? All this tells me a lot about you as a character, how you establish yourself as a professional in the world. And everything has a pro and a con. Yeah, it's just like, take a stand. What is your decision for that particular project to work on, to convey it, and to develop it? And when I'm talking here about these 2 issues, curriculum vitae, that's something what you most probably know. This is filmography, your background, your upbringing, the education, the films you've done. But the curriculum vitae consists of the what I call the curriculum anime. Anime comes from anima, the soul. Yeah, this is what is the soul, the what I would call the emotional and very individual personal footprint, because what your mindset is different, yours is different from hers, from mine, from yours. Yeah, and to understand a creatively working person by his or her mindset, yeah, this leaves not only a creative footprint, but also an intellectual and an emotional footprint. And this is why it is so important to share the motivation and the intention, because out of that we understand how you look at a product like an art product, and what you are going to do with it. So understanding not only your CV by the education and filmography, but also to understand your CA gives me the idea of we have something in common, let's work together. Yeah, because in the end, making film is team. Yeah, not only in the production that everything has to run together, but also in the early decision making processes. Even if I say this is a good financing, yeah, there are two people on the gap financing. Fine, it's something we have in common. Is the financial or the economical aspects. It's just like that we have to share what is it that we have in common. And insofar it's good to get an understanding of you by not CV but also by your CA. Oh, one of my it's one of the most important tools. Always say when you pitch the state of development. Are you very early on? This is when the idea pitched you. Huh? So this is the time of the development. Where are you? Can you give me a synopsis, a draft, a fifth draft? Is it a shooting script? Is it, yeah? So let me know what is the stage of the development, because development looks like that. Right? It's never this wishful thinking line, yeah? And the point is, if you are a good pitcher, and you're very just here, you just had an idea, it pitched you, and you started to think, and you have maybe already a formula for your theme and things. But tell me that it's early on, because what people do when you're good in pitching in an early stage, they think you are here. And then they start asking very qualified professional questions. And admittedly, I have not met many people who said, oh, no. It's so young, this idea. I can't tell you anything. What people start doing, they say, oh, desperation, that person likes my idea. And then they start to hallucinate and create answers which they cannot fulfill. Yeah? And this is going to ruin your relationship, because people then say, oh, that's cool, let's work together. And what happens then when you really come to that point? Yeah, maybe not only one disaster has happened, maybe 2 or 3. Maybe it's a halfway to hell. Yeah, and then coming back to the people and saying, it went wrong. Yeah, is much more difficult than saying, yes, this is very early. I'm happy that you'll enjoy this idea, that you like the idea. And our next steps together are the following, if you want to join. Yeah, and insofar, that is why I said it's a sharing of data. It's a real clear structure exchange of, this is where I am, this is where I want to go, and for that particular step I need you. And then people are treated professionally, you stay professionally, you don't start to hallucinate some funny things. Yeah, and this is why we need to understand how vulnerable are we, or how needy are we. Yeah, and often we are by far too needy in that process and regress down to, let's say, more childish beings and say, hopefully they do it. Yeah, please. Instead of saying, no, it's not there yet. Let's wait and take and reconsider the timing also pragmatically. So this saves you a lot of drama if you share where you are. Okay, toolbox number 9. Tell the ending. When we have a script, normally the act number 1, the first 20 minutes, 20% of the script Yeah? In television, it's so funny when you have prime time television Friday or Sunday. Prime time in Germany is 8:15 to 9:45. Then you know exactly. Here it's 2015. Then world is established, characters, conflict, and then it's 5 minutes past 8:30, so 8:35. Act 2 starts. Da-dum, 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 da-dum. 9:25, end of second act, all the drama pops up. It's really getting worse. And then the last 15 to 20 minutes, resolution, crisis, climax, resolution. Yeah, so it's this is television prime time in Germany. I don't know how it's here. The pitch, and this is the temptation for the writers to follow that scheme. This is okay when they do it in their script, but please don't do it in a pitch. Yeah. So what is in a pitch crucial? Act 1 takes round about 50% of the pitch time when you talk about content, because there we need to understand what's the world, what's the rules in the world, and sometimes it simply starts with the 6 journalistic questions. So when, where, who, what, why, and how. Yeah, it's a difference. We immediately know if we say it's Malmö in the 5th century, or we say it's Malmö 2018. Yeah, our collective knowledge about history immediately brings us to other images inside our brain, and that's why it's very good to establish universe and time first, and to say the film takes place over 24 hours, or it is about 3 centuries. Yeah, immediately we are moving in, and this basic data helps you to establish world universe, and then within the rules of that universe, then you bring in the character. There is this shy little boy, or whatever we move into, and the action, whole second act, basically, except midpoint, we can skip. Midpoint is just interesting for us to know how do you manage to change the attention of the audience from hope to fear in terms of the journey. And then you move down to the theme, which always is resolved at the end of second act, moving into third. This is when we change from need to want. So what you need to remember is really establish and then solve. Yeah. No, because the written synopsis is basically a shortened version of the script. There are 2 ways or two different forms of synopsis. So if you just have a very simple story synopsis, you start from A and you end at Z. Yeah, but if you do, for example, if you do a sales expose and you have a so-called marketing synopsis in there, then with a marketing synopsis you can do this. Yeah, because there what you do in a marketing synopsis, basically you if there's a cast, you name the cast, you talk about what is the film about, where do you see it, why do you make it, and then you briefly give a storyline, and that's fair enough. Yeah, but then of course you would that's in that sense when you do it in writing. This is, as I said before, it's a kind of manual you handing out with a script, or hand out before that people then would say, let me read the script. Yeah, and that distinction you have to make, whether it's a sales and marketing synopsis or a writer's synopsis. Yeah, and writer's synopsis is this. Marketing and pitch synopsis is the further down. Have you heard about a SWOT analysis? Good. A SWOT is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And here I just reduced it to 2 layers, mainly to 5, let's say, strong positive aspects. This is also, as I said before, it's all about preparation before you start talking. Yeah, and that's an additional or a new preparational tool that you always would know when you go out. What are 5 aspects where I would say, okay, wherever and whenever I'm pitching, did I cover 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? It's fine if it's 4, yeah? But it's this handful of strong arguments that we always will remember, and that we always, these are the driving forces actually of why we're making the film, yeah, or why we're working on it. But what I want to point out here, what is much more important are the 3 critical ones, because these are the ones we try to neglect and try to make them non-existing. These are the ones when you are pitching publicly, for example. They are written on your head in neon letters, blinking, saying, please don't ask. And we know them all. And the fatal issue is you pitch and people listen, and then they say, actually, what is about da, 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 da. And then you say, as we know they are coming. We really know it. Yeah, if you define where you are in the development process, with your script or with the financing, whatever approach it is, yeah, and you think one step ahead and think about the strategy, you know exactly on what you are going to work next. But if this is not 100% sure, it's useless to pitch it, but have a strategic answer. Yeah, if you state what is the status, then you can say, and the next step is, let's say, for example, you have a script, you're a producer, you're happy with the outline, but you're not happy with the dialogues. You would not, or you should not, give it out. You would say then, because you would know that people or the readers from your co-partners, co-production partners would say, nice idea, nice story outline, but the dialogues are a bit rusty. You would say then in a pitch, I'm happy that you're interested. Right now the project, it will go this week into polishing of dialogues. Is it fine if you get it in 4 weeks? Because if somebody really wants it, they can wait 4 weeks. It's not summer sales. Yeah? So it's the working together. But what will happen if they get it because you are desperate and you say, take it, please read. Yeah, they give it to the readers, and then they give this reader's report and say, nice, shitty, shitty, shitty. Yeah? And this was it for your script. Because the people who have gotten it might forget to say, but the dialogues are not there yet. Yeah? So be very, very aware of what the questions are you don't want to be asked. But fine, don't say, oh, I have a big problem with the dialogues. That's not the idea behind it. But define where you are so that it sounds logically, strategically to do this as a next step. Involve the people, and then it is a professional sharing of your knowledge. Yeah. I would, if it's some kind of technical strategic stuff, I would always bring it up in the, or I would say it's in an early state of development. I would not even. You could say it's a script in the first draft, first version, yeah, and then everybody knows, okay, it needs a bit more time, yeah. And if it then later, but then people would not even ask it. But if you don't say anything and you pitch nicely, that people would say, oh, I would like, do you have something to read? Can I take it, or can you mail it to me? Then I would actively say, do you mind to wait another 2 or 3 weeks because it's in the polishing process. Yeah, so not necessary. It's when you define 1.1, we know there's still work to do. Yeah, that's why that avoids questions in the first place. But for those questions, it would be good to have something in mind in case. Yeah. Yeah. Once you're down to the number 1, the ultimate sentence. then you have your pitch already, yeah, because this is really the core. But I would like to see this as the one in the context of the content, that again would be the working question or the theme. And of course, in the context of production, there's also sometimes an ultimate sentence, yeah, which is good. Let's say for gap financing, it's the final 10%. We know that they are the most difficult, but on the other hand, for somebody who invests, the most economical ones, because you get highest return of investment with gap financing. So it could be, depending on the pitch, it could be a possibility. And so insofar you always have to make the distinction: is it a financial pitch? Is it a development pitch? Is it a creative team casting pitch? Is it a visual conceptual pitch? Yeah, so the pitch itself has to be defined already by its purpose. And then, of course, you will have, if you do a purely financial pitch, people are not so interested, or investors are not so interested in what it is really about. Yeah, they want to understand what is the return of investment, on what kind of position are they in the waterfall, in the revenue scheme. Yeah, just like when you work, you work with Yuri Marsh, top position. If you go to Asia and have private equity, it's top position. Yeah. So, and this is then a completely different approach, of course. Yeah, that's why it's important to understand content or financial. Yeah. Gap financing it's a word, the gap between. Yeah, for example, the small gap. Yeah, so it's just the last lacking money. And normally gap financing starts to be named like that once you have your financing plan with 85% together, and these last 10-15%, sometimes they're tough to get. Yeah, and of course, to fill the gap, to close your financing, you have to offer a lot, because people know this money is tough. Yeah, so there are investors who just wait and sit and then get a lot of return or interest or rights or whatever, yeah, or any kind of benefits. And that's the gap to be filled that you can go and shoot. Yeah. Good. Yeah, this last ultimate sentence, I say here, good for opening and closing sentence of both informal and formal pitches. I see a pitch in its dramatic and dramaturgical structure similar to a theater play. Yeah, when we are sitting in an audience and the theater scene is there, and then all of a sudden the curtain opens. Yeah, this very first moment should be very emotional. Yeah, in a theater, we want to see Hamlet in a very traditional way, and then all of a sudden we see a very strange, experimental, modernistic setting. Yeah, and we say, "What is this?" So for me, it's not. Or the people say, "Wow, that's cool." Yeah, for me, it's just about the open needs to be emotional. Yeah, so we should be energized, and even more the closing sentence. Yeah, that you really find a strong closing sentence for your pitch, and that mostly is about the intention, the motivation, about the necessity to make this film. Yeah? So if this is not emotional, and it's not about that people always love it, for me it's emotional that it means that they engage, that they, and in a theater play, even if they throw tomatoes and rotten eggs, it's an engagement, it's a statement. And once we have a statement and an engagement, then you have space to talk. Yeah, but if it's just like, then why and what should we talk? And a lot of people make the mistake when they prepare a pitch, that they really start nicely, it goes on and on and on, and then all of a sudden they realize they haven't thought about an ending, and then silence, and then they smile. That's it. And this is horrible, because it leaves you with nothing. Yeah. So even the pitch has a very clear dramatic journey. Yeah? The advertisement people, they have invented a formula called AIDA: attention, interest, desire, action. This is how actually every drama structure works, how every advertisement works, and you can apply it to a pitch too. Yeah? So we need the attention, we have to deepen with the information, the interest, we have to awaken desire, to fight with identify it with our characters, and then by the theme or by the impulse, the action to buy a product or to change, to apply it to your own values, change your perspective of life, whatever it is. Yeah, so the AIDA formula is applying to this opening and closing sentences. So now I have to take a look at the timing. Okay. Resume. This is just a resume of what we were saying. Identify motivation, intention. This is CA. Stress your legitimacy, your skills, and that of your team. That's the CV. Contextualize your project in the market. What kind of contribution you give, and that always resolves what is the theme. If new media, very important, define the difference between demand or need and the sustainability of that products. Give a clear definition of status, strategy, and timelines, and what you have and what you need. This covers a structure of a pitch. And now we are moving to something else, and all that, keep it short and simple and smart. This formula, it's a postcard for my book, actually. The publisher was very innovative at that time. The first version, the book has that color. And the first postcard he gave to me, it was shiny red. And I said, no, this is not for L'Oreal or some makeup. Please, not in red. But the idea about a pitch, keep it short and simple, is what I was just saying. But now we move to the next step, and this is about you. About you as the pitcher. We started with the preparation of the context, then we moved into the project, and now it's the pitcher, her or himself. Here basically my idea is that we not only own a brain, but we should use it. So using it means we have to anticipate what is happening in a pitch. Yeah? It starts with, how do I feel if I pitch in a public space? With 50 people, with 400, like in the forum in Amsterdam. Do I prefer public speaking? Do I prefer one-on-one meetings? And it is completely individual. Some people say, no, in an early state I rather like to share it in a bigger space because I don't know the answers yet, so I want to raise interest in general, which I find more complicated in a one-on-one meeting because then the people ask too many questions which I cannot answer. So just for this is what I'm saying now. Just apply it to your own individual needs, perceptions of the process of pitching. Yeah. So, of course, the question is with the inner clarification, why am I doing what I'm doing? And then some practical issues. Let's start with the intellectual. So using your brain means I can anticipate that if I pitch, I need to talk. I need not only being able to be audible and understandable, but also that I have the will to share. A lot of people feel like this is my baby, I'm not going to talk about it, this is mine. This is super. If you have your own cinema, if you have your own financing, you can do this. But the moment you want to get money from people, which is pitching, it's a must. And then, and this is my plaidoyer for this poor being called pitch. The pitch is always hated. And they say, people say, I don't like it so much. And what we are actually afraid of is what we get after the pitch, which is the feedback. And this is what a lot of people want to avoid, because then we have to face something. We have to start to move into this painful evaluation process, letting go, adjusting, understanding what is the change process in my project. Do I have to feel obliged to change because of that particular decision maker, of the market, of the broadcaster? This requires a lot of backbone sometimes to say, no, I'm not going to change. But understand also that you are not just in principle saying no. If you're a stubborn character, and if you're a defined character, and you just say no for the sake of saying no, that doesn't help your project either. So find actually the appropriate, let's say, determination. And that means if you want to argue and discuss your project after a pitch, you absolutely need to understand what your project is about. And that does not necessarily mean only a storyline or an idea, but you really have to understand it in the depths of it, because then you can start arguing and fighting and implementing suggestions, or saying, no, this doesn't work because it would not support the general idea what my project is about. That's why I said, if you remember motivation, intention, theme, and B2B ending, you are absolutely fine off. Because this is what you, but of course it has layers behind it. What I'm just saying is, it sounds like all these self-help books you can buy. Be creative, be spontaneous. So there is a lot of work behind it, of course. Otherwise I wouldn't have spoken about it already since 1.5 hours. So dealing with feedback, but learn to detach in an appropriate way, and always demand for really constructive analytical feedback, because you have all the rights and reason. If somebody says, somehow I don't like it, or I don't get it, this is not analytical. It's really, analytical feedback is work for the two of you. Important also as an intellectual skill is really have an empathetic awareness. Be open-minded for that process. Even if it's tough, but be open. It's part of the job. And it doesn't help not to like pitching for whatever reasons, for maybe experience you've made. It's always a new process. And of course that involves power games. There's a lot of power in pitching in the industry. And it's often not very easy to overcome it, and to stand up and to say, just like the torero does with his red piece of cloth, the mantilla, it's called something. This manto. Thank you. Because you can decide when an attack comes to elegantly let the ball run through, and you also can decide to put the manteau in front of you. That's painful. And this is what you don't survive. But this is the way to detach from it and to let the emotions run through, and then you can professionally talk. But this is, as I said, this is work and introspection beforehand. How do I act in particular hierarchical systems, even if there are rumors, or if I've heard something, or if something has happened to me. Be patient when you pitch. What is the average time here in the broadcasting system to say yes or no when you deliver a script? Is there a rule? Is there a hope, a self-obligation from the broadcast? Somebody from the broadcasting system here? Oh, sorry. Really? Oh, lucky you. This is fast. Oh, lucky Swedish artists. Okay, I'll bring that back to Germany. Okay, so this is okay. But even sometimes 6 to 8 weeks can feel very long. That's why it's good to understand this process, and if you're particularly impatient, it would be good to do something in between to move on, and not to sit nail biting in front of the telephone that people call you. But it's 6 months in Germany, and this is their self-obligation now. Yeah, it used to be much longer, it's ridiculous. Yeah? You can't. It's impossible for people to work and to survive in a professional process. This is just like, whew. Okay. After a pitch, what is absolutely important to follow up? Yeah, even when you do a public pitch, and there were people who showed interest. Stay in touch, update them, ask them what they want, and make a note and deliver. Yeah, when you're on a festival, every day in the evening before you go on happy hour, take a piece of paper, write down the meetings, and promise, and that you, when you come back, and the office at home and the family is overwhelming you, that you will do that, because otherwise you can spare the whole process of pitching. Yeah, then if you don't work it up. I love them. There are common feedbacks. It was a motto last year at the Berlinale, at the Talent Campus, the common feedbacks of decision makers. So you pitch, there's no audience for this. Oh, we've done it. The other one is, no one will ever finance this movie. And then you have caring family. They say, this will get you in deep trouble. And when you're still young, they might have told you, why don't you get a real job? I had to scan it in because it is so symptomatic for our industry. But these are the ones you have to deal with. Yeah? So find strategic, humorous, smart answers to it. From in the psychological alphabet, we move on to the values. It's really something, it should just give you an idea, because each of you is, as I said, is completely individual and different. We have what we really need to embody is that in our projects we should stay true to ourselves, to what we do, which is sometimes really difficult. But that also implies that there's a lot of respect for the teamwork, for the team process we are going through. And the acknowledgement of the competence of the others. Still, unfortunately, I observe and see and try to train and coach the process of the different approaches of women and men pitching. I only can say, ladies, don't be too soft-skilled. Go for it. Yeah, and then, of course, just check, do you want to be perfect? A pitch never can be perfect. It's always depending on the status you give the best possible. But therefore it's so important to define the status, because once it's finished, then you have maybe the marketing pitches, or you use it as a reference in a one-liner for your next project. Yeah? So perfectionistic behavior doesn't help, because it only brings you back to this idea when we were children and we had to quote perfectly a Christmas poem. Yeah, and it stresses us out. The professional approach is really being prepared at any time to talk about your project. Treat your brain nicely. The last minute preparation of the pitch simply is against any neurophysiological way of working of our brain. The best is if you prepare a pitch and then 2 days you just forget it, and then you do it if it's a public one, because then it was sinking in all kind of lateral, vertical, horizontal thinking possibilities. It has been digested neurologically as well as biochemically. How is your resilience factor? How good can you stand up again after a no? Yeah, this is something you really need in this business, which is tough. And I know I'm not good at it. Yeah, it's but to after a failure to get up again and to say yes, but I believe in it. And so just listen inside, and then also deal with success. Yeah, after a public pitch you get applause, and it's nice to enjoy the applause, because if you say I've done the best possible, then you deserve it. But if you are in a perfectionistic trap, you will never say it's enough. And then people say, thank you, but I could have done better if the budget would be a bit higher. Or whatever. Take it in as and learn to deserve it in the development phase. Yes. Too soft-skilled is sometimes, for example, when we talked here about the flexibility and determination clarity, that I see it often that women give in too easy if commissioning editors say, I'll only go for it if we do it this way. And to fight in the discussion to go for it, to say, but it doesn't make any sense in regards to the theme. So the giving in, it's too soft-skilled, instead of saying, explain me why. It is just like, so it's the soft skill of empathy to be too fast to understand what the other side means and to apply it then too easily. That is a soft skill in other contexts, which is nice, and it can be helped if you're a therapist. But if you're a producer and you fight for your money, you have to understand and ask for it, and that often happens. I mean, you have here in Sweden, I'm talking now, of course, also from the German side here, where the gender issues are much higher and still a much stronger diversity, and we are really lacking still from the base. I'm not going into that now, but insofar maybe it's even, if I say it now, it's an insult. I hope not. But this is something I would say I can still say about Germany, but maybe hopefully you are not there anymore. Practical things. When, for example, you have to pitch in a place like here, I always urge you to, before you're asked to come down, be down here, walk around, embrace the room, see if I can reach the last person in the last row by my energy talking. Not only staying here with the first row. Am I afraid that maybe somewhere in the dark a beast is sitting? It's all the stress moments, and we have to understand that in that process of being completely open and vulnerable, we should have things in control, and that is how it works. When you work with a microphone, for example, for me, I would never ever, sometimes I had to, but for me, a handheld microphone, will that give a feedback if I use this now? No, because it doesn't work. No, I wanted to make a joke, but this one is working. But sometimes now you can hear me. Sorry. How do So this process of handing a handheld microphone, for me, it's completely disturbing because I'm moving around my hands anyway. Then I have this thing always in my hand. If I would have two, it would really look funny. And I would feel stupid. So in which one would I talk? But try it out. And then sometimes if you get a headset, you should wear trousers or a skirt, because in dresses where to put the thing. So it's a lot of things which if they appear all of a sudden, then you say, oh God, how do I deal with it? So is there somebody who helps me to fiddle it down there? So it's all tiny little things, but if you're nervous and you don't do it professionally like I do all the time, then it might confuse you. And then also when you have a dry mouth, maybe you are a little bit stressed out. What helps is chewing little lemon drops, because little lemon drops give you a lot of saliva, whereas water, if you're not used to it, normally the saliva is swallowed down. And if we have a dry mouth, even with water, we do this, which is not sexy. So, and you don't like hear it through the monitor. So there's a lot of things. Also, do you prefer to sit or to stand? to walk around. Everything is connected to that, how you feel best, but you have to understand it first, how you feel best, and then even in public pitches, in formal pitches, the technical people, they are of so much help because they also want that the event goes well. So it's all about asking. And then we have, of course, sometimes when there's an order of pitches in public formal pitches, sometimes you can ask if you want to be first or last or in the middle. But therefore you need to know where do you feel best. I always would like to go in the beginning, for example. If I'm nervous, I want to have things done. But some people are better off when they say, no, I just want to check the scene, what kind of questions are coming, maybe I want to adjust something. It's totally individual how you are dealing with it, but it's in your body is carrying you through the whole event, so it's important that we also listen to it. Yeah.
Is there any research about during a whole day of pitching with the audience? Is it good to be early or last or before, after, lunch, whatever?
Yeah, our best cognitive waking time is between 10 and 12, and then there's another high between 4 and 5 in the afternoon. And of course you can imagine digestion is never good to listen. So pitches after lunch are tough. Yeah, and I also feel the pitches shortly before lunch are tough, because then people think, what am I going to eat? Rumble, rumble, rumble. So I think, I only can say so good timings are in the first half in the morning. Yeah, and if it goes on, then rather towards the second half of the afternoon. Now I told you something. Now everybody will fight for these time blocks. Yeah.
I was actually going to comment on that. I think a very good way of changing that in your favor is like by actually wearing, like, oh, I know that it's after lunch and everybody is super full.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. Use it in a way of your pitch.
Yeah. Yeah, but I would even play with it to turn it around to say, so now as you have enjoyed your lunch, I kindly ask you for a quick intention. Yeah, just imagine you're zipping down now a little black espresso. Yeah, but I'm not a fan of putting yourself into a victimizing position. Okay. Yeah. No, sometimes if you're good in it, and it must come really fluent and funny, because I think humor is very difficult, as we said before, once you start explaining it, and it needs to come organically. I remember where you were just saying that one pitch in Amsterdam many, many years ago, that was at the ITFA Forum, which is the International Documentary Forum, and there they have these 7 and 8 minutes, 3 days in this dark church, and it's a pain. This place is a pain, And of course, on Wednesday afternoon, this is the worst day. I mean, they shortened the pitches now, but those times they were in the morning and in the afternoon. And I remember one pitch of an Icelandic team, and everybody, last lunch, everybody completely overtired from the last 5 days of Amsterdam. No sleep, too much talking, too much drinking. And the people were sitting down, and all of a sudden the light turned off. It was pitch black. And then really an infernalic noise happened. A spotlight into this. They have a U-shaped auditorium where the commissioning editors are sitting around. A completely wild guy jumped into the middle of it, did some funny movements, mind-blowing noise. Off he was, dark again, light on the two guys who pitched, super straight, and said, this is from New York, a guy we make a film about. Everybody, at least for the 7 minutes, was, high alert and awake, yeah, but they insisted of having that slot after lunch on Wednesday. If they would have done that on Monday morning, first pitch, people would say, come on, we're here in a business, yeah, so no performance needed, yeah, so whatever you do, it's very delicate where and how to place it, yeah, but I think humor always helps. Because it's a tough business anyway, and if you're in the position of making things sometimes more lively and lighter, it always is nice. Yeah.
Then you have to have been in contact with the moderator.
Yeah.
In order to make
Yeah,
that
absolutely. Yeah. He is for you the key person in a public pitch anyway. So with a moderator, it's a must to talk to them, because they are the ones who help you. Or the other way around, you help them to make the show running, yeah, because in the Q&A session, when you, for example, you have pitched it to a British broadcaster the last week and they rejected it, they turned it down, but this guy is sitting on the table. So if this guy is asked again, and he says, if he's nice, he says, I just pass the word on, yeah, but if he's not, and he says, hey, I turned it down last week. Yeah, and if he's an opinion leader, and we had, I mean, now he's not there anymore, but for example, Nick Fraser from Storyville, he was the key opinion maker in these things. And he wouldn't be nice. He said, I turned it down, this piece of shit. Yeah? So, and then everybody would say, okay, Nick turned it down. Oh, so, yeah, so you can create a downward or an upward spiral. So the moderator is the most important person for you to explain your strategy. So whom do you need? Whom have you worked with before? Who supports your work? And then we even had cases that people who could not go a step into the project, but they would say, no, I'm supporting your project. I can only be a reference here, but I wish you all the best because I know you're going to make it. So he can be used as a reference. Yeah, and moderators are really on your side. And in the end, never forget that all these public events, they are there to continue to exist. They want to exist. They're making their living from it. Yeah, so they are basically on your side. Yeah, so let's do, and that's why I said be open-minded. Don't see those people as your enemies. They are the ones who support you and help you. Yeah. So just to come to an end, because the time is running out, are we through there? Yes. Do we have, can I have 10 minutes longer? 10 minutes taken away from the network? Yes? Because this is just a brief thing about our habits, and I talked a bit too long by now. But it's a list of do's and don'ts. But actually it's don'ts and do's. Because it's stupid that we say do's and don'ts. We should say avoid the don'ts, go for the do's. Yeah. So what are the don'ts and the do's? No theatrical drama structure phrases. Sometimes when people are not there with their project yet, they say funny things like, so my really exciting main character, he is facing a big issue. He really has a problem. But I think the story will tell his journey until he comes to find his new identity. Ooh. Yeah, our language is full of emotional adjectives. Yeah, be precise. And if you don't know yet the journey, don't talk about it, because we know how it's going to be. It's much more important. What can you tell about the character and the end? Nothing else. Yeah, simplify. Yeah, make it KISS, make it AIDA. Yeah, so attention, interest, desire, action. Yeah, no complicated complexity. No empty phrases like, it's an interesting project. It's very visual. I'm working with a talented director. Yeah. It's a radical story. Yeah. This is all so superficial. It doesn't say anything. What you might think is radical might be boring for me. Or it's just like, it's a no-go. Yeah. Of course, film always is visual. So why should it be very visual? If you say it's very visual, explain what you mean in regards to the story. Is it a counterposition? It's a contradiction? Is it whatever? Yeah. But explain it. Otherwise, it stays on a surface. And then, no long boring lists. When I read sometimes filmographies, they are just to fall asleep, because it says 2015 title, short film 15 minutes. 2016 title, documentary 52 minutes. Learn to write down. Is it street children in Calcutta, prisoners in Malmö, an old people's home in Tokyo? So I know it's somehow about niche people in places. Yeah, it's a different thing than writing penguins in the Sahara or horses in, I don't know, in Fireland. Yeah. So learn to get used, and that is the exercise for you being able. What is your fil rouge? What is your red line through your work? Do you have a red line, or are you able to offer everything? Yeah. This is how I understand your CV as well as your CA. And then learn to say I show. Don't say I don't want to show. I'm not talking about. I will exclude. Yeah. When I tell you, don't think about blue. Super. Whoosh. Outside, yeah, blue. So no negative phrases. Our brain is not capable to follow a no, because a no is nothing. So it only can go for the something, which in that case is blue. So tell that it should be green or white with blue dots. Go as soon as possible away from working titles, because this is your best pitch. If you have a strong title, it requires a lot of work. But if you know what your film is really about, then you can start playing with a list of tags, contradictions, what is the conflict in there. This is the creative work with words. And then something which is really important, please, 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 don't learn your pitch by heart. People who go on a public pitch still have the tendency to do that. And you know what the critical momentum is there. No adult ever, except being an actor or a singer, will ever learn anything by heart anymore. This is how we train our brains when we are children. This is for putting some neuronal ways in our brain. It's learning, it's a formula how to learn, but never use it. Because what we do, it's so much connected to our childhood that once we start learning something by heart, we internally regress. And then we're standing in front of the Christmas tree saying, this is a very good documentary. It's very visual and I want a cookie now. Yeah? But this is not what pitching is about. So skip that. Yeah? And there are ways to prepare, to write down, to reduce, to have keywords, so that your brain, with the keywords, fold up, unfold again what is behind it. Yeah, just like what we are doing now. Motivation, intention, B2B, theme. Yeah, and I told you a lot of things which are behind it. Yeah? And this is the way to work your way through, and then you have your keywords, and then you can talk freely about it. Yeah, I love your brain. Don't hate pitching. I mean, there was a lot of people. I was very happy that they said, "Yeah, I like it. Yeah, it's more a lust than a must." But the ones who still maybe consider liking it, just I can say, love your brain, because our brain is eager to learn something, and it's what we did here is new approaches. Yeah. In so far with the learning by heart, it's also most of the people do write a long text which they then learn by heart. Break it down. Yeah, it's okay. You can use the written text. You don't need to throw it away. You use it for a sales synopsis. It's all fine. But normally spoken language is stupid. Written language has much longer elaborated sentences. But when we write silently and when we read silently, we continuously breathe. But if we speak, whenever we speak, we exhale. So at a certain moment, after a long sentence, which goes on and on and on and on and on, what happens? And this is stress for our body. So when we make short sentences with a full stop, yeah, that's important. No short sentences with a comma, because then we go up and up. So it's the same. Always make short sentences which end on a full stop, because then our voice goes down and we automatically need to inhale. And this is the best de-stressing possibilities for public speaking, having short sentences, because our body, our system stays served with oxygen. Be courageous. This is the pitch of the speech. I mean, you understand it now. So Ustinov said, speak up, listen better, say always what you think. And then and now it's time for you to guess something. This is communication science is a very young science. It's only existing since the 30s, when Le Bon, shortly before World War II, was the first one who really published a big book about mass communication, where he tried to explain and understand what is happening when mass communication works. And then these two guys, they continued. Václavík and Gregory Bateson, they are what one today would say they are the popes of communication. And they did a lot of research. They wanted to understand what stays with people in the communication process. And this is what you can guess now. So, in a week's time, how much do you think from the verbal information I've given you counts, not stays with you, this is very individual, but counts in the evaluation of the whole thing, plus the non-verbal? So what do you think is the percentage, just throw numbers. 1585, 2080,
93.7.
Okay, game over. Game over, it's 93.7. And, but, the 7 must be prepared. If you talk oxmox, then it doesn't work. That means you need to understand with whom do you speak, what do you want, is it in the professional line of the people. So there's a lot of professional preparation in regards to whom you talk, and this of end as well as the pitch, and then it works, because then the people are considered to then you talk or you listen to people, and then you have the feeling they really know what they want and they want what they share. Yeah, and this is in the end what we call coherence or congruence in communication. So this is the last one. I hope I could convince you that it's not only a selling tool, it is a communication tool. It's about you, about your responsibility, about you with your authentic wish to share what is important for you in your life through your creative projects. I think you do something for the future and for the creativity of the whole industry. And as we said, it's a development tool, and I hope it also is for nearly everybody now a bit more fun. And I hope you enjoyed this long 2 hours. I did. It was nice to be here, to see you connecting with me. And we have some little time now also outside with a networking drink, I suppose. Super. Thank you very much. Danke. 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 Oh, was ist das? It's lakritze. Licorice, oh, famous. Salty and as well. Super. Thank you.
Kaffe och mackor ute, och jättebra tillfälle att träna på att pitcha för varandra. Så
yeah.
Ja. Ja, men ni hörde allihopa. Vi måste lämna biografen för vi har gått över tiden lite grann. Och de har andra grejer som kommer hända här. Så vi snabbar oss ut och så